is Nicole Kennedy. My studio is called Empowered Body Pilates, and it's located in Los Altos, California, which is about 40 minutes south of San Francisco, just before you hit San Jose. I've been in business for 5 years now. So happy that I survived the pandemic,
Yeah.
and getting ready to expand actually.
Okay.
So that's a whole new journey right now.
hmm So the question I always have for people when they're starting out, because everyone's at different stages of their, I guess their fitness journey or their Pilates business journey, is
Mhm.
what made you decide to take the leap to actually going bricks and mortar and opening your business?
Mhm. So I had been working for the same person for most of my career,
Hmm.
and I got to a place where I wanted to edit and work the business model in a way that I felt was more organic to the way that I worked with my own clients. I
Okay.
wanted to be able to make those larger decisions on my own and really trust my gut and and
Sean.
and really consider the idea of what if it was done this way? What
Yeah,
if we tried it this way? And and I felt like I needed my own canvas, if you will, to be able to do that.
sure. Yeah, and I don't want to sound like I'm knocking this person that you worked for in the past, but did you feel like you didn't have the room for your expression
Hmm.
within that box? Yeah.
Sure. Ultimately, yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I never thought that I was ever going to own a Pilates studio. In fact, at one point in time, I was like, oh my God, I'm never doing that. That just looks like too much work. But
Yes.
as you become entrenched in the day to day and the way the model is working and the interactions with the clients and how they receive the process of even getting into your business,
Hmm.
um, it felt like it was so important to try to manipulate that on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, my background is like in social work, and I'm really enamored with like families and marriage and relationships and stuff like that. And when I was like I got married and stuff, my mom would always see me reading books on like how to be a great husband or how to be a great dad or how and all these things. And she said to me one day, "There's only some things that you're going to learn within the context of being married." And I think that's the same for studio ownership,
Hmm.
where you can know all you can know and you can take every teacher training and you can read every book, but there's only going to be some things that you learn once you're in the context of like, this is mine.
Yes, I completely agree with you. Um, in the spirit of what if, it doesn't really matter how many teacher trainings you do and how much knowledge you have in your book. It's not until that body is in front of you that you can take hopefully those tools and skill set that you've built over time, but put it into application. And when it doesn't work,
Hmm.
then comes the moment of what if I try it this way? What
Yes,
if we approach it this way? And what if is such a vast and magical question that can be on a very grand scale and can be on such a very simple scale and
hmm
lives in your life from day to day, from session to session, from minute to minute in each session. And
right.
it's pretty magical that um, we have the ability and the freedom to ask what if.
Absolutely. I feel like there has to be, when we talk about the what if, like I love that because I'm just naturally a curious like type of person. But at the same time, that what if has to come from a good place.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like when
Yeah.
people like I don't know something about that. I'm trying to unpack that what if piece a little bit more for myself there.
Well, I
You know what I mean?
think for me, the idea of what if comes from the concept of empowerment,
Yeah.
right? My studio, let's talk about the definition of empower. It's to give authority to. I don't give
Yes.
authority to anybody. You have the authority. I am the toolbox. The
Yes.
studio is the tools. and I'm your assistant here. I'm going to hand you this tool. I'm going to hand you
Yes.
this tool, and you are going to empower yourself through this 50 minutes. And I'm the one saying, well, what
Nice.
if we tried it this way? What if we tried it this way? How about this? What if you did this exercise today? That's where my what if comes from. And I think you genuinely have to love people in
That's
order
exactly it.
to be willing to have the conversation of what if with them.
Yeah. That I think that nailed it for me because like I was thinking, is it trust? Is it like yeah, but like it is just truly genuinely loving people as
Yeah,
your baseline that just gives you permission to
yeah.
explore that with people, right?
I'm sure you've totally experienced over your years of experience that, that moment when someone's like, oh, I did it. I figured it out. You're like,
Yes.
yes, I'm winning. That's
Hmm.
amazing.
Yes.
That those are the moments that I live for and have definitely been what I've held on to over the course of the pandemic. And it's just going to
Yeah.
get back to that. Just going to get back to that place. It's right around the corner. It's going to happen. Uh,
Good
it was a
self-talk there.
long right around the corner,
Yes.
but my county was closed for 19 months completely, and I had to ask myself, what if, with the idea of going virtually? What if I did this? I have a wonderful mentor who literally just was like, "This is what I'm doing in my studio. Blah, figure it out. See if it works with yours."
Yes.
And she handed us a wonderful blueprint, and I feel so lucky that we were able to get off the ground as fast as we were, because I
Hmm.
think I would have hit paralysis a little bit of,
Yes.
oh, now what? Now what? This is
Right.
so away from the norm of what I've been doing for the past, 12 years.
Hmm.
Um, and uh, the process of getting through that and going through that was definitely another way to flex the what if muscle and to
Muscle.
empower myself in maintaining my career and maintaining my passion. I'm sure you had to experience that as well.
Absolutely. And it's powerful for me to hear you talk yourself through it right now too. Like it's almost like you're listening to yourself like, wow, I'm really proud of myself for making it through that. Like as a team, collectively, you did something great. A lot of people just did close, or a lot of people did give up, or a lot of people use this as their exit point because they were working 80 hours a week and now it's like, okay, I'm done, bye,
Yeah.
right? And that's totally fine if you wanted to, but like but your story is fantastic.
I had my moments. Actually, this time last year, I was like, okay, should I just start selling all my equipment now? Because
Mm,
I don't know when I'm coming back. I don't know when it's going to happen. And it became a just like, what if I wait one more month? What if I
yeah,
wait one more week?
right.
And that was literally how I got through it all.
Yeah, yeah. The I think Brenda Freeman, a friend of mine, had a post this morning where one of her clients was doing an exercise, and in the video she says, "Wow, I never thought this exercise was for me."
Hmm.
Right? Like that's that moment you're talking about that we chase afterwards. Like, well, what if we do this? It's like, wow, I was able to actually achieve this, right? When we dismiss it as not a possibility.
I would love to know in that, what were her steps to get that person to that place of, wow, I could do it. Like, did she take the exercise? One of my favorite things to do is take an exercise, and how many other exercises exist in this one exercise? Could I
Yes.
fragment it down into digestible parts? And maybe we're
Hmm.
doing one thing for this many weeks. I'm going to add the second thing for this many weeks until suddenly all the tools are there. What
Yes.
if you just tried? What if you just tried?
Hmm.
What could happen? Who knows? Um,
So, do you tell
I would
people
love
where
to
you're
know that.
going, or is it like Christmas where you just giving them the one piece and not telling them where you're going sometimes?
Gosh, it depends on the situation. I would say it's a little more like Christmas for the most
Yeah.
part, but you have that client that walks in and sees another client doing the cool and fancy thing, and they're like, "Can I do that? Let's try. Let's
Yeah.
see."
Yeah.
And maybe
That's so
my
funny.
brain hadn't necessarily thought of that as being their next step, but I see
Mm,
that they've got a desire and an excitement about something. And so, okay, how am I getting them there?
yes.
What if I now
Nice.
implanted in my own mind
Hmm.
that it's time for them to do this within the parameters of where they are and their strengths?
Of
How do I get
course.
them there?
Right. Blah,
How
blah,
do I make
blah.
that possible?
Safety. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All that stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yes. But there's sometimes that happens to me where I'm just like, yes, next year, and not give it to them. So then they're just like, oh, they're just chomping at the bit to get to a place where they can do it
Hmm.
just for fun with certain personalities that I know that are that competitive,
Yeah,
and just get them into that. And there's like, use that carrot to dangle in front of them sometimes too. So it's so funny. Eh? Like when you are training the person in front of you, you can understand the personalities that you have there. You can have so much fun with getting them to that place of achieving something.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yesterday, your conversation started with, and that's how we ended up here today, was with
Yes.
the idea of training significant others, and I had chimed in. I'd kill for my husband to embrace
Oh,
Pilates. I
yes.
would. I would. He's a recovering triathlete, um, and
Okay.
he needs it so badly, and a desk job guy, but they're I know what he's capable of. I know what steps to need to take, but then there's this he needs to have that moment of what if.
Yes.
And it's brought in a thought process of like, how do I elicit the what if in a person?
Yes. It is so funny. Sorry, I don't. Are you done your thought there? Because that is
Yes.
totally semi up.
Yes.
When I was working in social work, we used to talk about kids hitting rock bottom, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they sometimes don't affect change until they hit rock bottom, much like, addicts and things of that nature. But the thing that we used to do was this concept of raising the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if I had a young person who was running away from home and they were just doing their own thing, but they were too young to live on their own, I'd call the police on them, because the police would now grab them and take them straight back to their house because they're too young to go to Children's Aid Society or whatever it is, and then they'd be scared because they saw the police. So you raise the bottom on them, and they're like, "Oh, last time I ran away, the police came and got me, so I'm not going to do it again." There needs to be some way of raising the bottom on men who do not see the value of Pilates.
Um, I agree. And for whatever reason, it would be nice that it wasn't because they got injured. Because I will tell you
Yes.
that I have the most male clients I've ever had before, but it's literally because their wife was like, "Go get in Pilates right now. I'm tired of hearing you complain. Like, go fix it."
Right. Sorry, I don't know how you got
Um,
your foot in the screen. Just on a sidebar, but go ahead.
and and they come in begrudgingly. I'm gonna do Pilates. Um, and I think that's a whole other topic of conversation. How do we make the face of Pilates more inclusive? That
Right.
continues to be an ongoing conversation.
Absolutely.
Uh, but but 3 sessions turns into 10 sessions, and then I'm like, oh, your 10 series is up. I'm like, wait, what? And
Hmm.
because they suddenly are no longer in pain, they suddenly are realizing they can stand taller, they can do their favorite activity without discomfort, and then they're hooked.
Yes.
And it would be nice to not have to drag them in.
Right.
um, haven't figured that one out. Let me know
No.
if you crack the code.
Yeah, I'll write a book when I crack the code on that one
Yeah.
for sure. Because that's so true, right? And like and guys come in, and then their wives will stop training, and then the guys are still here, right? Like
Hmm.
they once they get it, they get it. Like Scoop Pilates is there, Joel Crosby's in the chat right now. Like they get it. Like guys walk in, and then they're like, oh, this is what I've needed,
Yeah.
right? Like, but to get them there. They gotta feel it. They have to be voluntold sometimes. Like it happens.
It was very interesting. I did teach my husband a little bit during the pandemic. I think we did about 4 sessions together, and we're relatively newlyweds, and he was really very honest and vulnerable. He was like, I can't feel this inferior around you. And I was like, wow, really?
Uh, you're exposing your guy right now.
I know, but he would say it too, like, no, this is too humiliating. And so I'm hoping that I can finally get him in here and me not in the studio. Maybe that would
Right,
make a difference.
right.
That whatever he feels like he's lacking, which is really only hamstring flexibility. But if if I don't see it, if I'm not aware of it, maybe he'll feel like he's in a safer space
Yes.
to go through the motions, to go through the process.
Yeah.
Such a delicate balance. Do you teach
It,
your
it,
spouse?
she's in the chat here. I have in the past, yeah, and she always jokes about the fact that if she's jacked up from biking or something, she'd be like, "Ah, if only I knew a Pilates instructor." Like, so
Mm-hmm.
that's her vibe. But and just there's a comment here from Phil Griffith says, "Do you think that men, regular guys, or famous athletes are reluctant to tell other guys they do Pilates?" I know that that's the case for my guys. I know like some of the guys that I train, they don't tell their buddies that they do Pilates because they can only take so much like ribbing and humiliation from their buddies.
Yeah, I happen to have how I've acquired most of my male clients is I have one male client who was like, I'm doing Pilates and I'm gonna kick your ass at golf now. So, and then everyone was like, oh, he's probably sent like four of his friends. They're like,
Yes.
he can't be better than me.
Hmm.
And he says that this is his secret sauce, so I'm doing it too. Like, okay.
Yes. I like it when that happens. I like it when that happens because it's almost like I one of the guys I trained who was in the NBA at one point, like I didn't want him telling people that he was doing Pilates because I wanted him to have an advantage.
Hmm.
You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like I wanted him to get that chance or to get that break or do something that's outstanding because he's not getting injured or he has better recovery time or he has better flexibility, he's faster, all those different things. And I wanted Pilates to be his
Yeah,
secret power, right?
yeah.
So yeah, it can go both ways. So yeah, some guys, they don't say anything because they're embarrassed to, and other guys don't say it because they want to be their secret sauce. And
Yeah.
maybe we need to spin it like it is your secret sauce more for people to get it.
I think that the work you and others are doing, exposing that there are that this is amazing for men. I think it's so necessary. I think consumers need to see men like you doing Pilates, practicing it, embracing it, using it as a study and a way to embed their lives in many different reasons. I think it's so important. Um,
Hmm.
it's understandable and reasonable that this has become such a female driven industry, but there's just so much there for men. And
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's so necessary.
It is. I think kind of like my closing thought on the whole like men thing too is, we always think about, who are the demographics of coming into our studio and what is our next marketing strategy and how we do these things. If we spent that much energy getting referrals from men to come into our studios, every woman that comes in, hey, can you send your dad, your husband, your brother, your son, doctors' offices, every guy who came in who had this, and this, every time they say back pain, can you just give them my card? Like, if we built a referral base around trying to gather men to our studio, we're still probably going to see 40% guys, but like at least we have a referral base to that. And I think that,
Hmm.
that's one of the things that we can continue to just build and to focus our referral base to one target market.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah. Anyway, just thinking out loud, people. If you have any suggestions in the chat, please put them out there. There's another comment here from Lisa that came earlier. Her Thai massage men clients are now starting to get onto the Pilates bandwagon too. So, yeah, like he's bring them in for one thing and introduce them to it. Definitely is another way to keep that going.
Yeah.
Um, Dealing with men, getting men in. I have a post I put up this morning about a father son that came in this morning. Really is like my target market, my ICA, my client avatar, all that warm fuzzy stuff. Who would you say is like your favorite person or type of person to work with?
Oh gosh, that's really evolved, and it's kind of so important that you're asking me this question because I'm kind of going through sort of another phase of that right now. So,
Cool.
originally, I started teaching Pilates to put myself through college, and I thought I was going to go to physical therapy school.
Okay, cool.
And I had gotten injured and had an amazing rehabilitation experience, and I just wanted to advocate for
Nice.
people in such a way that I had been advocated for, that brought me back to a place of strength and returning to what I wanted to do. And so I very much embraced working with clients who were cleared by their physical therapist, but weren't really at that full return to play, full embracing
Nice.
of their life, their hobbies, their
Yes.
activities. I love that. But as
Nice.
I'm building out the business, to see 80 of those in a week, it's impossible. It doesn't
Yeah.
work. And so I've had to pare that down. And I would say that my avatar right now is very much based on where I am. The location of my studio is men and women between the ages of 45 and 65.
Hmm.
They are already quite athletic or athletically inclined. They are looking for that next sort of advantage, as we talked about before. Like, what's that
Yes.
thing that's going to keep me at the top of my A game, whether it be, in the office, on the golf course, whatever it may be, to help create some level of balance of both physical and inner strength.
Yes.
Um, I would love to get back to working with a population that is really seeking Pilates for physical healing. Um, and as we get back to as the business grows, I hope I can return to that. It
Yes.
brings me a lot of joy. It makes me feel like I'm filling up and earning my karma points.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, right now I would say it's more of an athletically driven group.
Mhm. But your background, you're a pro dancer before?
Yes, so I was a dancer for San Francisco Ballet.
Okay, cool.
Um, I moved to San Francisco in 2004. I was with them until 2010. And that's how I found Pilates. I'm a little bit the cliche. There
Yeah.
was a reformer in the Pilates studio.
Right. Yes.
And I took my first Pilates session, and I actually totally despised it.
That's
I,
funny enough that you say that because that is part of the cliche too. So many dancers
yes,
like I did it, I hated it, and then I came back to it when I was injured, and then I realized it was for me.
yeah, yeah. It's irritating that that's like the pathway, but it is the pathway. And I didn't wait till I got injured. I was like, well, why can't I do this? I can do this. I can do this,
Yes.
puffing up the ego, but I can't push the springs out. What is
Hmm.
going on? And so I started taking once a week, and it became my cross training, aside from the ballet world. And then when I got injured, 48 hours later, I was on the Cadillac in a boot with a weight strapped to the other ankle,
Yes.
doing what I needed to do, and used it through my
Right.
whole process. Um, so yeah, and it was really that experience that A, made me realize the healing powers of Pilates,
Hmm.
and B, helped me find sort of that passion that I didn't know, given that the ballet world is so egocentric, that I didn't know I had this desire to see people heal, to see people evolve and
Wow.
change. Um,
Yeah.
it was pretty cool.
That is this is so cool because you think that you would want more dancers for a performance perspective, like let's do Pilates to be better at ballet, whereas you're saying let's use Pilates because we can actually help people and we can make people feel better and that kind of corrective exercise rehab side becomes more of your emphasis than the performance side.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of the original Grandmaster plan was to open a physical therapy clinic that was using Pilates as its primary modality, for rehab. That was the original game plan. And maybe one day it'll go back that way and I
Yeah.
won't be the PT, but I'll still
Yeah.
be involved in the grand scheme of things.
Well, doesn't that sound a little bit like my intro about our whys and our hows, right? Like, I mean, if your why is to help people feel better and to get those karma points, your how right now may be a studio and X, Y, and Z, and that how may evolve into like a complex that does that, right? Like, I mean, like, who knows, right? But like your why is still fixed and your how is going to evolve.
Yeah. I read that Find Your Why over the
Hmm.
summer, and listening to you pre our chat, I was like, oh, I need to pull that back out, read it again. I think it's a really appropriate time
Yeah,
as I am walking into this new space, new potential, to really set that intention. I
absolutely.
think is it's a good time to do it. Very good time to do it. So thanks for that
Absolutely.
reminder.
No problem. Yeah, revisit it. Because I mean, what you're saying, like my wife's still in the chat here. She's probably here, like everything you said. She's probably like, yep, 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 yep. Because that's exactly how I talk in terms of letting people just discover what they're capable of, and whether it's coming from an injury or just doing something different. I get so excited when people are able to just recognize that their body has this much more potential, and this is the tool that we've used to discover that.
Yeah. So
And
cool.
then yeah, and then that could have so many different expressions, right? But like that's pretty central to what we do. So yes. So now where are you going with this? What does this new chapter look like?
So
I know
I
this is a living document at this point. I'm not expecting
my
like a polished answer.
my current studio is like 800 square feet,
Okay.
and I am preparing to move to a 2,600 square foot space. That is
Yes.
not too far away from here. It's like literally a block over and a block over.
Hmm.
And one of the things that the pandemic really forced me to do was think about what really makes me happy in the grand scheme of, if I'm in the studio 8 hours, 9 hours, what moments am I the happiest? Um,
Yes. Great question to
and
ask.
my classes pre-pandemic were six, and I have made a business model change to move them down to three. And I'm in the
Okay.
process of practicing that, going through that transition right now. The space that I have is will be blocked into two separate rooms with like a half wall, so you can still get to either space. And I'm going to put three on each side so that there can be two trios happening at the exact same time. I feel like I get more joy out of teaching smaller groups. And I feel like my clients receive more from me.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, if I'm trying to help someone or be a catalyst for someone's growth and development, I need to be able to give as much of my senses and myself to be able to be that toolbox.
Right.
And while I can do it in six, I'm
Hmm.
happiest with three.
That's good
And if I'm
self-awareness.
signing up for another 5 years of this, 10 years, however long it may be, who knows? Um,
Hmm.
I want to make sure that I live the joy that I want to live in this.
Right.
Um, yeah, so that's the new master plan.
Nice.
I'm very excited, slightly terrified. I have three new apprentices that are just beginning with me,
Hmm.
and they have a desire to really make this a career. So I also now have this new opportunity to be a mentor,
Hmm.
which I think is probably a natural progression of where I am right now.
Yes.
Um, and to watch them have their aha moments of finding the right words and creating workouts for clients and discovering how they're going to interact on a personal
Yes.
level with clients, is really very cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're creating space for them to find their voice, to find their language.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And really creating, from a business standpoint, creating the ability and potential for being a Pilates instructor to be a sustainable and real job in California. And what I mean by real job is, can I support myself?
Hmm.
Can I do this? Can I work the normal hours as a normal person? I
Right.
don't have to be here 24/7, and I
Or
can
split
still live.
shifts.
Yes, I can still live a
Right.
quality life. I
Hmm.
still have all that I need.
Hmm.
I'm not stressed or strapped in any way. That's what I'm hoping to bring to my staff, is really that ease and that freedom to just be the teacher.
Nice.
I started my business as a solo one man band, and I definitely remember the fears and stress of, oh my gosh, did I teach enough to pay rent this week? Where's my health insurance coming from? Like, all of those things. I've lived them. I feel them. I know them. And I want the next chapter to be able to take care, to fulfill others. It's really necessary.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why keep running around and around and around? Um, yeah, so that's the goal.
That's awesome.
That's
That's
really
the
the big goal.
that's yeah, and that's the question of how do you scale your business? Like you answer that in such a clear way. It's awesome.
Hmm. Scaling the business. It's such a catch-22, right? I was just talking with someone about this, and you want one pillar to rise, but they all sort of have to come up together.
Hmm.
Um, and so right now I have teachers, but I'm working on now making sure that they have students. And
Yep.
there's this very delicate ecosystem that ends up occurring, and one of those things cannot grow any faster than the other.
Right.
Normal hours is the true struggle. Yeah. I guess you have to figure out what your normal is, right?
Right.
Is your normal 6 a.m. to 1 p.m., or is your normal, the evening, whatever it is? I'm an early bird.
Yeah.
I'm don't feel myself that I'm a useful instructor at 6 and 7 p.m.
Nor am I.
Once
Yeah.
upon a time, but not now. Not now.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's so good. There's I feel like true leadership is when you're able to duplicate yourself, right?
Ooh,
So,
define duplicate.
well, what I mean by duplicate is when you have, like in your case, you have apprentices or staff that are working with you and they've captured the essence of what you want people to experience within your studio.
Hmm.
So think of like a barber shop or like a hairdresser's where everyone comes in. Black barber shop's a perfect example of this. Everyone goes in and everyone wants to get their hair cut by Jason in the corner.
Hmm.
And there may be 10 other barbers there, but everyone's waiting for Jason. Or you can have it set up in a way where they can go to anybody and get the essence of what you want them to experience there, but not be compromised in terms of that person's voice or that person's experience at the same time. So they could walk in and then they could fall in love with working with so and so that works in your studio and they love them, they love working with them, and they're not looking for you, but they're getting the experience of being in your space and your vision, even though it's
Yeah.
someone else they're working with. That's when you've duplicated yourself.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then that person wants to still be, this person still wants to work with you, your staff, they want to work with you because they feel like, much like at the beginning of our conversation, they actually do have expression for their vision. They do have expression for their own growth and their own space within your space
Yes.
without compromising your vision for your space.
Yes.
That's duplicating
Yes.
yourself.
Yes. I mean, yes to all the things you just said. Uh, I think that we, as studio owners, um, run into the challenge of creating the product, giving your instructors the freedom to be them, but still having a baseline of what the product looks like, what the product should be.
Yes.
And I think that's a constant sort of bit of conundrum, because if you
Mm-hmm.
don't give someone the space to grow and develop, I mean, I can say this, from my own personal experience, to dabble in these other arenas of things that are still fall under your business, but give them creative outlet, creative freedom above and beyond just teaching a client day to day. That takes a significant amount of nurturing.
Yes.
And I think that's where my personal biggest anxiety lies, is will I stay true to my course? Will I remember that this is what my goal is?
Mm-hmm.
And will I recognize when it's time
Yes.
to start giving to someone or pushing someone,
Mm-hmm.
um, in order to maintain them as an important part of my business structure. I
Yes.
think that's a delicate thing to maintain, and I foresee that being the thing that I will need to keep at the forefront of my mind.
Absolutely. That's got to be your growing edge always, right? I mean,
Yeah,
the second you take your focus off of that, then people feel like they're not appreciated, they're not being whatever,
right.
right? Valued, all that stuff. Joel's comment here, you have to create a duplicatable system that allows their personality to still come out.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Um, we'll see how I do. I'd like to think that I can stay on task.
You'll be fine. Um, it's one of those things. I just on a sidebar, as a personal trainer, I think I have this quota of like "you'll be fines" that I say in a week because
I
I'm
love
just
to
like,
say, yeah, I love to say that. It's my favorite thing
yeah,
to say.
yeah,
You're
you'll
fine.
be fine. Yeah, because it's yeah, you'll be fine. The fact that you're aware of it tells me that you'll be fine. Like you're not gonna forget about it if you're thinking about that right now. We're having a conversation, and that's what we're thinking about. The fact that how do we give people expression and build a system where they can be themselves and grow, and then everything scale out, and then they can have this livable existence and not have to work bell to bell. You're thinking about it, so you'll be fine. Like what if, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
explore it, figure out all the different ways that could work.
It's a magical question. What if?
Hmm. I like it. Um, you said so many things in there. Nice. Oh yeah, I was gonna say it's almost like you're like we talked about a duplicatable system, like a formula or just some kind of way to give that expression, right? So, um, all that is good. There's something I was gonna say earlier. I didn't want to interrupt your flow because you're on a good run there, but let's get let it ride.
Verbal diarrhea.
Yeah.
Um,
And just reading the chat here about the 6 a.m. between Lisa and Joel. Uh, Lisa, I'm finding that I love more into myself in the practice to devote my afternoons to clients. Yeah, you gotta find your flow, right?
6 a.m. is not my happy place. Word. I get it. Took me a
Yes.
real long time to get to that place.
Hmm.
Um, I think I probably taught for, I don't know, about 5, 6 years before I got to like, this is normal. This is the
Yes.
groove. I can do this.
Too funny. Everyone has a model for movement inside them. It can be delicate because you have to maintain guidelines and culture of your individual studio, but still have individual teacher personalities. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I
I
totally
think,
agree.
yeah, and even within the space here, one of the reasons why I've locked arms with Andrew and this whole team here at High Octane Training, there's a clinic in the front, there's a gym, and then they have some really high level personal trainers I've worked with in the past. But the thing that really draws me to here is the fact that the owner, Andrew, is all about building community. And it's like a family, and his people who come in are just really super tight. And we all have different things. Some guys are big squat and deadlift guys. Other guys are functional range movement stuff. And then our athletic trainers up front are really athletic based. And I'm doing all my stuff Pilates for men and just athletes and all these things. But the reality is that the center thread, a central line through all that we do is building community,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's even not necessarily a technical bend in terms of the way that we do it. It's just like, are your people feeling like they're family and part of the greater family or
Yeah.
not, right? So you can't run your own
I
show, right?
Yeah, you can't. You can't. Otherwise, it's just you and you forever and always.
Yeah.
I want to say about 2 months ago, I posted on one of the forums in on Facebook. I asked the question, for those of you who've left brick and mortar and have forged out on your own, if you're willing to share why, what was it about it that you weren't getting enough of? What was it about it that you needed more of? Um, and more on the number one word that came up was appreciation. And so then I probed a little harder and I was like, well, what does appreciation mean? Is that monetary? Is it only monetary? Is it what could your boss have said to you more? What could they have asked you? How could they have done more to feel like you were really part of the community and a viable and vital part
Vital.
of the business.
Yes.
And it that was kind of an interesting thing because it was harder for people to answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what does it mean? What is appreciation? What does it take for you to feel appreciated? And um, some responses were as simple as I wish they would have said thank you more.
Yes.
Some responses were I wish that they would have asked for my opinion more about the structure of the business, and it 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 was informative. It's very informative. I wish I would have gotten a little bit more information because as
Yes.
I work on trying to build out this next chapter of having other teachers here, um, I think that it's the key. It's the thing
It
that will
is.
make the business soar and not just be me. I don't believe you can ever leave a a Pilates business as an owner. I think you always have to be there. Um, I don't ever anticipate like, oh, I got 7 instructors and now peace out. I'm just gonna do this thing over here all by myself.
Yeah.
That's
Kind of
not
growing
being a
month to month.
leader. That's
Yeah.
not being a leader. Um, but it would be great to create an environment that I can then provide more of that mentorship process because right now it's just a whole lot of teaching, a whole lot of
Yes.
teaching. But
Yeah.
that idea of what is it to be appreciated, and I think that as instructors are either continuing to forge out on their own or maybe even um, considering going back into a studio, I think when you sit down with that owner, that studio owner, I think we need to not be afraid of saying, this is what I need to feel appreciated. And that's what's
Yes.
really going to change that challenge between
Yeah.
instructor and owner.
Yes, 100% agree. And I wrote down the word vital because that's it. If the person feels like they're vital to this, like they are part of your vision in terms of where your business is going, then they'll have that much more buy-in. They'll treat it like it's their own because you are depending on them because they're vital to everyone's success, not just to their success.
Yeah.
And it's almost like that love languages conversation, right? Like I can love you the way that I want to love you, or I can love you the way that you need to be loved, the way that you feel being loved. So
Yeah.
I could sit here as an owner and say, I've communicated my appreciation. I'm giving you $2 an hour more than the industry standard. But they're
Right.
like, well, no, but you never endorsed me on Instagram. You've never done a shout out about your amazing team. You haven't given me any free swag. You know what I mean? Like it could be little
Yeah.
things like that. It's
What
like,
is it?
what is it? Like how exactly do you need to feel appreciated? Not how like you should be grateful because I appreciated you this way, right? Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I
So
totally agree.
yeah, it's interesting. So do you have like any like online workshops or anything along those lines? Any kind of social or digital presence stuff that you have working on as well as your bricks and mortar component?
So I went virtual like hardcore when we were in the midst of the pandemic, and I was super lucky. I was still teaching about 45 hours a week. Um, but I hit like month 18 and I just hit like such a burnout. I
Yes.
my love of Pilates is the sound of the springs and the hands-on and that very visceral reaction. So this has been a very challenging 19 months for me,
Hmm.
to not be in the presence of the person that I'm working with.
Yes.
And I have completely gone with my online virtual stuff. I have two clients
Just
left. One, because they moved to San Diego,
right.
and they are working on. I'm trying to help them find someone there. And so, if anyone knows some badass instructors in San Diego, put them in, please. And then the other person is not comfortable remaining in a mask. We are required to be masked still. Once that is lifted, then he will return to the studio. But other than that, I was like, peace out, Zoom.
How do you really feel? Yeah.
And I think that it's phenomenal that people have created these platforms and have exposed themselves in such amazing ways. It's really remarkable.
Yes.
And I think it will forever change the industry.
Mm.
Um, but I'm just that person. I just want to put my hands on you.
Yes. And well, I see like Joel's doing like a hybrid model, like where you have people in the studio and you have people online at the same time. Like you can flow with that too if you really wanted to, right?
Yes, yes, and I've played with that idea. I would love to talk with someone that's living in that, in terms of like how are you paying attention to the screen and doing the thing with the human and the thing on the screen? How does that work? I would love to know how they multitask that,
Yes.
because I think it's impressive.
Right. But what if you just did it?
I know. I knew you were going to go there.
Because the reality is that like you strike me as someone who has a strong enough rapport, you love people enough that they would forgive you if it failed epically. And then you just made pivots
Do
and
a
say,
little
you know what,
beta
what we did
test.
last week? Yeah, we did it last week and that bombed. So we're back to
Yeah,
live. And that's
yeah.
just how it is.
Do you do something like that?
Yeah, a little bit. I play with it. Like the restrictions in Ontario have made it really, really just sticky. So when we started out, I was doing like I had the owner because we wouldn't have it. We weren't allowed to have anyone in here. So the owner would be doing Pilates, and I'd be teaching him while we had people watching live on screen. So people were doing it at home while I was teaching him in person. So I kind of had a that sort of thing. And then it went to all online. And now I just kind of use it, like I said yesterday, like a lost leader. Like I have my online classes running and I have people in those classes, but I sell my privates and say, and part of your packages, you get these online classes included with your purchase price. So you have no excuse to get some work in on your own with some help, right? So that's kind of how I layered it in for now. Just I want to keep it going, but also I like you, I love the hands-on and people in real life, people with skin on. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, you just put me to the task. What if you just tried it?
yes,
It seems to be the theme of my life right now. I have a lot of people putting me to task, which is great. It's
that's
great.
good.
I think that COVID created some version of like, if I just hold still, everything will be okay. And now it's time to start pushing and branching out.
Yes, it
And
is. Yes,
oh,
it is. Just like much like I had Alicia on, she's like a last Friday, 2 Fridays ago now, Pilates instructor and a business coach. And I said in passing that I have to work on my talk for Brink and I need to record it. And I was not really complaining, but like it's at the end of the month, but they want us to record it early, so I feel like I was behind, under the wire getting this done. And every time I've seen her touch, she's like, "Have you got your talk done yet? Have you got your talk done yet? Have you done your talk yet?" I'm like, "Ugh." Yes. So I finished my talk this morning. So it's good.
Now, is that something that you feel comfortable doing? Like giving a talk like this is very
Yes.
natural and
I love it. I really do.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I have had no issues being on stage in front of
Mhm.
people, but the second I had to figure out how to use my voice, like I cried through like half of my first certification because I couldn't find my words. Not even kidding. Not even kidding.
Wow.
And it's gotten more and more natural over time, but this is like the next phase of becoming um, more of a community facing, moving towards being
Yes.
a speaker towards the industry versus just being a client face, and it's something that terrifies me. Even though I know that I have lots of experience, I know that I have lots of great things to share. So I'm always so impressed and enamored by people who are like, "Yeah, I gave that talk. I don't know how it went, but I did it." and
Yeah.
and and it landed or it didn't land, and it doesn't really matter how it landed. It's that I put myself to that challenge and I completed that challenge.
Yes.
And I much feel like that reluctant client who doesn't want to do that one exercise that they're totally ready for, and I'm like, do I have to? Do I have to do it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, but that's it. And you can do it. And I think that's part of it is like when you are compelled by your love for people and your passion to help people, that'll put you in different arenas. And then when you do it, you may walk away from it like, I felt so alive doing that. Like, this is me. Why haven't I done it before? Or you may walk away from it like, done, check, move on, right? Like,
Yeah.
so it could be either one, but sometimes you just need to just go out of that place of, yes, I have stuff to give. I really want to get this out. And this might not be the medium for me to get it out, but this is something that I need to get out. And maybe I need to find another medium to do it. So, like I have no on-demand classes. Like some people have done like on-demand platforms and then
Mm-hmm.
subscription based, and I just didn't do it for me. I tried it and I was like, nah, I'm over it. Like I much rather, you know what I mean? So everyone has their thing. Like I love public speaking. I love sharing in this way. That's my thing. It might not be your thing. I definitely say go for it, try it, and be bold. And if you realize that this is your calling, run with it. If you realize that like you didn't really love it, then just shelf it and find your thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, do it. Absolutely do it.
Yeah, yesterday was so funny. I was in my car when you called me out, and I was like, "Did anyone else see that? Oh my God, really?" And I had literally just finished having a conversation with my mentor about stepping forward, about being industry facing, and how this was important to the sort of the next phase of me and my
Mm-hmm.
own development. And I was like, wow, I'm just totally getting called out right now. Like, I have to go do this chat. I have to do
Yes.
this
Is
chat.
is it was it being called out or was it being invited in?
Both. It felt
Ah,
you was invited in, but I was like, oh my God, I'm being called out right now. I have to talk to someone. Um,
good
and
times, good
I can talk to
times.
a stranger walking down the street with like no problem. Someone walks through the front door, no problem. Put a screen right here, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what's happening? Run,
Funny.
run.
Nicole, we've
Yeah.
totally gone over time, just rambling on, and I love it. That's the essence of what we do here is just have conversations and just chill, just lean into just just talking. And I love the fact that people get to see the woman behind the brand, right? So I'll repost this, like just grab sound bites out of it, like use it any and every way you like, and just put it out there because I think you're doing great work, and I'm really excited to see how your business grows.
Thank you so much, Martin. This is really great. Great. Thank you for the push. Thank you for making me say, what if I did this?
Hmm. Love it. Love it. Thank you to everyone else who jumped in here as well. Like Lisa, Carol, the Pilates Thinker is going to be on later this week. Or sorry, next week. I gotta need to double check that. Iron and Grace, welcome. Never seen you before. Awesome. Sonia, And Philip Griffin, I love my Pilates guys in the space always. Shout out to the guys doing Pilates. I'll probably grab that whole soundbite and just repost that as well. So awesome.
Uh, All right. Well, thank you.
All
Thank you.
right.
I got to get ready for my first client of the day here.
All right. Get it done. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Take care. Thank you.
Awesome.